Alright, today we're going to talk about file upload vulnerability. In particular, this file upload vulnerability allows an attacker to upload a shell script and get a reverse shell. Now, the vulnerability lies on the fact that the source code doesn't do validation as the content of the file upload. It only checks the extension. So let's go ahead and take a look. And I'll be releasing this repo, make it public, probably at the end of this call. So if anybody wants to, that includes all the labs, previous labs. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna put it in here. All right, so the lab is based off on Docker. So yeah, I know a lot of people prefer Docker. That way they can actually set it up and test it and just get rid of it. Or just set it up again. All right, after that, you're gonna do Docker compose up. That's good. Oh, looks like it's up and it is running. Let's open it. You usually get this right away when you open it, so nothing big. Oh, this is very common because I didn't close the application properly, so it didn't delete the existing cookie, so you get this error message. All right, it's up and running. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new account. So just for demonstration purposes. So C Bartley, created, log in. All right, so we have already seen the other vulnerability, so I'm gonna go straight to it. If you go to the products page, there is a way to actually upload a product image. First thing to check is, does this allow upload? Let's upload an image. I'm gonna upload this. All right, so even if I were to open a new tab, this actually kind of gives you an option. You can see it gets reflected. So the next thing, let's go ahead and try to upload. Sometimes it just would say JPEG, PNG, GIF, but you can actually upload more file formats. So let's check. I'm gonna go to downloads, text file first. All right, so it says it's blocking it. It's a good thing. And also let's go ahead and try to upload something else. CSV file maybe. Same thing. And if I pull up the source code, actually, I have it up. So as you can see, it's a Spring controller. It uses whitelisting. It's whitelisting this extensions, JPEG, PNG, GIF, JPEG. It would only upload if it is actually part of the whitelisting. The only thing is it doesn't check the content, which we're going to see in a minute. So let's go ahead and check that first. If I were to go up here, we know it doesn't, like, this is actually a text file. So if I were to open it, let's do this. So if I were to save us, let's say documents, it's a log file, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually make it just a shell script. It's not a shell script, but I'm just checking to see if it does it. So let me make it PNG. Most of the time, when you have a vulnerability like this, the first thing you check is double extensions. Does it allow that? So as you can see, the content is different. It's not a PNG, but I'm able to save it. So this is the one. Let's see if I can upload it. This is the one. Let me upload. So it is uploaded. Now the only thing is, does it run it? Now, depending on the application, Spring Framework is actually very strict. It doesn't execute it, but sometimes if you have Apache or older version of Apache, even though it does have a second extension, what you can do is, let me go ahead and open it up on a new tab. As you can see, it's not an image, so it's just going to show you something like this. So if it was an Apache or something, what you can do is just do this and see if it can execute it. But most of the time, this is what you're going to get in Spring Framework. So in a situation like this, we need a second vulnerability. So let's go ahead and I'm going to open up burp first. Proxy, open up the browser. I have it running on A088 that way. You know, most people would have something running on A080. That's just very common, so I just make it A088 so it'll be easier. And this is the same thing. I didn't close this browser while I was working on it earlier on, so it does have a cookie, and which the cookie has expired. If you don't close the browser, if you don't actually log out properly, close the browser, what happens is just there will be a cookie, and this cookie would eventually expire, and when it hits that page, it gives you that error message. So just now if I were to, all right, close it. Let's try to sign in using right, so I'm logged in. Now, like we talked about earlier on, I would need to look for, first thing is, let's try to get, let's try to see if we can even let's go ahead and create a simple one line shell script that would give us reverse shell. Right, so when it comes to creating reverse shell, I used to make it a big deal in the past and just, you know, get the reverse shell from somewhere else, like from a site. But you don't have to do that. If you understand the concept better, a few things, you can actually create it yourself. The first thing is, the reverse shell is basically, first thing, the first construct is actually, it's a TCP connection to another shell. So you would use, there's going to be a few factors that you need to know. It's a TCP connection. So what you would need is, to get the TCP connection, you would need dev, that's TCP, and IP address and port number. The second thing that you need to know, a reverse shell is actually, when you type in your input, you would need a way to reference an input. An input in a shell is referenced by, also called SDN. and it's referred by the number 0. std out, which is output. It refers by the number 1. std error stands for error. Like, let's say you typed a command, certain command, you're gonna get an error message that will be referenced by the digit number 2. So std err 2. The other thing that you need to do, basically, when you get a reverse shell, what you do is you redirecting an input, an output, and error from that terminal to another terminal connected through TCP connection. So you would need this redirect character each time. So this is very common thing. So these are the main things. Basically, what you're gonna do, obviously, since there's a reverse shell, you would need a interactive reverse shell. And the way to get interactive reverse shell is you can do bin bash, and interact stands for I. So, oh. All right, so these are the main things that you need. After understanding this, like I said, when you get a reverse shell, you want everything that you typed to actually go to the other shell, the remote shell. So you would be redirecting the std in, which is the input, the std out, which is the output for every command that you type, and the std error, in case you get an error, using this character to a TCP connected terminal. So once you understand this, it's easier to construct. So let's go ahead and construct it. Bin bash interact shell, interactive shell. It means interactive shell means you type something, you get a response, you type something this way. So the first thing is I want to redirect the output, obviously, right? I typed a command and I want to redirect the output. So in this case, the output is referenced by 1, and you redirect it using this, and you want to redirect it to the TCP connection. And obviously, this is what you're gonna get. Dev is actually a keyword, but this TCP is a keyword. IP is the IP address of the remote shell, where you want the remote, I'll say server or an attacker server where you be listening in. And this is a port number. So I'll be listening from my device here on my Windows machine. So I'm gonna go ahead. IP config, and my IP address is 192.168.173. And I'll use a port number 6000. So, like I said, dev TCP 192.168.1.173 and port number. So basically what this does is, like I said, everything that for every command that you typed is going to redirect to the remote. And you want to redirect not only your output, you want to redirect your input and also any error. So to do the same thing, you're going to do 0. Let's start from 2. It really doesn't matter, but there's a standard error. So you're going to redirect it to, now there's a lot of ways to redirect it. Basically, since you're redirecting everything to 1, if I actually do 1, what that means is I want to redirect the I want to redirect the error to whatever number 1 is going, which is the output. And the output is actually going to the remote shell. So basically, that's how you do it. And I'll do the same thing when it comes to the input as well. I want to redirect it to whatever the output is going. The output is going, and we know the output, first thing, we defined it already, and it will be going to a remote shell. TCP connection. So the redirect again. All right, so basically that's what it is. So you gotta go ahead and connect this. I mean, let's copy this. I'm gonna open this up and paste it. And I'm gonna save this as, put it in downloads. Let's say pick one dot shell dot png. All right. Now we know we can upload. So by doing double extension, product image, choose, go downloads. It's uploaded now. All right. So like if I were to actually copy this, and let's try that what we talked about earlier on. First of all, I would need to be listening on that port. And a particular port that I put in, 6000. So I have nmap installed. I'm just to make it easier, I'll use netcat. And I have netcat installed and I think nmap. Yeah, cmd. And then VP, I'm listening on 6000. All right, so I set that up. So let's go back and see. I can open this up, copy link address. Now, if I were just to type it like this, would it execute the shell script? No, probably not, but let's check it. As you can see, there's no connection. Even if I try to do this, which actually sometimes on older or some web servers it actually works, but on older versions it just doesn't. So it doesn't work. So I have to find a way to actually rename this or remove the last extension, which is going to be the PNG. So that's when we come in. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. So as you can see here, there is a tab, diagnostics. If you open this, you would notice that it's actually just a system control panel, just a diagnostic application, and we can actually click on it. It would give you some system information or any information related to the network. But if you notice it on the right hand corner, it uses, well, obviously this is a lab. You're not going to find something like that in a production environment. You've got to find a way to make the application uh, generate an extension, generate some kind of error message, exception, error message, and maybe we'll release a version. Sometimes it happens depending on how developers are actually handling the exception. But this, I did it this way to make it a little bit easier for whoever is going to do the lab. But Apache Camel 4.10.0, it does have a vulnerability, and the vulnerability stems from the fact that there is, I've talked about it extensively. I'm not going to go over it a lot, but Apache Camel uses that version of the vulnerable version of Apache Camel. It uses what's called camel exec command executable. The application itself uses this command to override any exec or system commands and pass its own commands. So each time, this is only allowed for the application itself, not for users. And the way the application protects this command from being abused is it does have a filter, its own filter. It's called default header filter strategy. What this filter does is actually each time it sees this header being added to a request, and if it's not coming from the application itself, it will just filter it out. So you can't really override using this. But there is actually a vulnerability for that version. The way they set up the filter by mistake is the filter is case sensitive. So let's say if I were to change, instead of camel exec command executable, if I change the lowercase a to capital A, the filter is not going to see the letters pass because it's case sensitive. That's why. So we're going to use that vulnerability, basically. I'm going to go ahead, the first thing, I'm going to clear off all the history here. So let's go back again. Let me run this. And so let's send it to a repeater. The way you would know Apache Camel is vulnerable is you try to add that header, and you'll try to abuse the case sensitivity and try to see if you can run any kind of system commands. If you can, it's vulnerable. Then there's a lot of things we can't do. So let's go ahead and try to add that header. And I'm going to make it, like I said, case sensitive. Now, the filter is expecting this. Camel exec command executable. Now, if I run it from here, the filter will see this is not the application adding this header, and it will filter it. Let's say now if I were let's do one thing first. Let me cut it. Now without that header, if I run it, basically what it does is it gives me network information. But the way I would know this is vulnerable, like I said, is if I were to add this. The first thing, if I add ls, and I'm not using the case sensitive or trying to abuse the vulnerability. Now, the default filter in this case would work and would block my attempt. It would filter it out. So I will see the same thing. I'm trying to run my own command ls. If I'm successful, then I should be able to see applications in that application folder. I mean, files in that application, files and folders, because I'm using ls, a Linux command. So if I were to do this, as you can see, it's the same thing. It's still showing the network information. But if I were to change this, I run it, as you can see here, right now is a different. It's showing me actually what the contents of that particular folder where the application is running is, which is like it does have a folder called data, it does have a folder called 2jar files. Obviously this is going to be the application jar files. So, and I'm also can do, what I can do is, let's see if I can do plain working directory. As you can see here, it's inside app. So let me go ahead and try to do it again, ls. So what I need to do, I know I actually added that shell script, so I need to try to find it. It's going to be somewhere. So first thing I see, data is actually, since it's more than likely the application will save the uploaded file into one of his folders. Most of the time that's how it is. So I see one folder here, I'm going to go ahead and try to see what the contents are. Now, when you try to run multiple commands, you would need to kind of use a combination of commands, right? Because you need to supply the root folder, and also you need to supply the command. By that, what I mean is right now I want to take a look inside what's inside the data folder. In Linux, what I need to run is ls space. I know the root directory is app, so app/data. So if I were to do this in here, there is not gonna work. Not not for Apache Camel. You need to use a different technique. You need to supply uh, this, the second part of it, as an argument. So what you need to do, it does have a second parameter that you can run. You do the same thing. Instead of executable, camel exec command executable, you use args, ARGS, arguments. And let's take a look inside here. As you can see, I can see inside now. So there's a config folder, there's jars, LFI controller, news, profile, and I do see here upload ext only count. So anything that has to do is, if you see, you start off obviously the one that actually gives you the more than likely one, right? I mean, I can go over each folder and at this point, but this actually gives you an idea. Anything has to do with upload or downloads is going to be related to the upload and download functionality of the application. So let me go ahead and copy that. Let me try to see inside here what's inside. All right, so I do see a couple of files, but I do some most important part I want you to see is actually I do see there is this file that we uploaded earlier on. If I go to downloads, big one, sh.png. So we do have that. Now, first thing, I want to leave it here so I can put reference back into it. So I'm going to add this to another tab, like duplicate this tab. Send a repeater again. Now, in Linux, uh, you use the ls command, obviously, to look inside a folder. So now that we know, in Linux, to look inside a folder, obviously, you use the ls command. We looked at the content, we copied it to another tab. The next thing is we need to copy that. If we go back, I need to rename this. The way to rename this is actually you use a command called move command. You move the file to a different file name, and so basically what I need to do is, this is my file. So I'll need to copy this to another file where I remove the extension. So I'm going to copy this. So let's go ahead and send it now. All right, if this works, if I look inside the directory again, I should see pig1.sh only. So as you can see here, now I have the clear shell script. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and again duplicate it to another tab or send it to a repeater. This time around, I have pig1.shell, so I need to run it. So the best way to run this is going to be, you're going to use bash. Basically, you're saying run this command on the bash shell. And I already named it, so I know this file exists. So let's make sure our listener is still on. It's listening on 6,000. So let's see. So usually when you get something like this, is a good thing, because basically what that means is it opened up a shell. And as you can see, it opened up a shell. It got root shell, and I can do who am I, and I can also do ls. All right, so that actually concludes our demo for today for the application. Now, just to share what the source code looks like. I think I mentioned it earlier on, is because this filtering, there is a good part of it. It sets up a whitelist, but there is a second check that was missing, is actually checking the content of the file. Is this really a JPEG or PNG or GIF file or JPEG? If the application doesn't do that kind of filtering, there might be a possibility that bad actors might use that and upload some kind of script that would give them either a reverse shell or a web shell.